Welcome back everyone to another R-Type NRG, and here we are on the Commodore Amiga with R-Type 2. An interesting conversion indeed, very similar to the Atari ST version. I think they were coded by the same people. It certainly feels and seems like it, especially looks wise. The difference is majorly in the sound. Obviously you would imagine that given the Paula compared to the AY chip. Nice little title screen here. No flashy intro like you get with the original game, which is a shame. But very arcade faithful there. And you've even got the nice little intro bit that the arcade gives you as well. Not quite as smooth. A little bit of fading there for loading the level, which is a nice little touch. And here we go. Hopefully, yes, off we go. And I've got to give it its merits. It's pretty good in places. It's definitely graphically very nice. Movement is a different question, but we'll stick on the graphics for a minute. They've done a good job at replicating the arcade. It kind of moves certainly slower, and it also moves particularly slow when it's going into lots of sprites on screen, and there's a certain amount of slowdown, which is unfortunate to see. A little bit of a frame skipping here and there. But it's generally pretty good. Graphically it is rather impressive. Not quite as the full detail of the arcade, but you wouldn't expect that. You certainly get everything that you need. The explosions are interesting sounds as well. It's trying to replicate the arcade very well, actually. I'll give it its due on a visual and audio level. It's got the music, a Paula rendition of the music, which is a nice little take on it. It's the correct tune at least. Most of the enemies are included. Most of the firepower, but not all. And there's some of the big things that basically separate R-Type 1 from R-Type 2 are the new weapons, and they're missing in the Amiga version. So you don't get the search laser or the split shotgun laser. You don't get those in this game, which is a shame because that's kind of like the point of being different from R-Type 1. It definitely keeps its difficulty level up though, that's for sure. R-Type 2 was particularly difficult on the arcade, and yeah, the Amiga version doesn't disappoint in that aspect. Some people, depending on your preference, might even think it's even tougher. Certainly some of the bosses seem to be. This guy seems to be a lot easier. Just one big blast of the cannon there, that'll do him. It could do with a few more sound effects. I mean, some of the sound effects seem to be missing. I mean, they've taken precedence for the music, of course, so at the expense of sound effects, which is a shame. I would like to have heard more sound effects going on. You get the explosions, of course, and stuff like that. Blast his face off. Dog Keratops, the remains. Oh, missed his. This is bloody difficult, this guy. It's much more difficult than the arcade version. Difficult to splat him in the belly straight away. You really got to knock his head off first to stop the homing laser. But that's level 1 taken care of anyway. We're getting tougher. Level 2 is always very, very, very hard on R-Type 2, and this is no exception. As you can see, there's notable slowdown here on this stage, which is a pity. It kind of reminds me of, of course, later on down the line you had, this was released in '91. Later on down the line you had Super R-Type released on the Super Nintendo, and it kind of suffered from the same thing on this level. Especially them enemies that sort of shoot off like that, they would slow down in that way. So they've got around that problem, it seems. I've got the air-to-ground laser here. That laser there would normally be the search laser in the arcade, but it's not in this because it's missing, unfortunately. But it's got the homing missiles, it's got the nuke missile. I think this is the homing missile here. Yeah, it's got these bloody annoying things. They slightly behave a little bit differently. They're not as difficult to destroy like they are in the arcade version, which is good. However, the screen is very, very tight. There's not a lot of maneuverability around, places to get around. Oof, bloody hell, that was close. So it is a bit tricky. Really tight in places. Nice waterfall effects there, really nice. That's where the ST version, it doesn't have them waterfall effects on the ST version. It does. They're not animated, so that's nice. The pit is animated nicely there. Yeah, it does run very well. It just feels too cramped. I'm not sure whether the original felt like that as well. It's been a while since I played it, but it feels a little cramped, and the slowdown really does annoy occasionally. Sometimes, like this guy, you can't really tell whether you're hitting him or not because it's the lack of the sound effects, which is a bit of a pity. But it's a very, very nice version of it. It really is. I guess, you know, outside of Super R-Type on the Super Nintendo, it's probably closest to the original arcade on a home port, I would probably hazard a guess. So yeah, they've done a good job. It's bloody hard though. It's borderline harder than the arcade version, and that's saying something. So it is frustrating. It is frustrating in places. It takes a while to practice this version. If you've got your skill set of the original, that's fine. But you've got to adjust slightly to the change in speed. The movement of the enemies is slightly different. See if I can get this guy. No, I can't. No, and now I'm knackered. Now, because what happens here, this is the thing that really annoys me. The respawn is so quick, and you've got to react pretty much on a... Oh, right, splat, see? Look, you have to see, I have to react instantly, absolutely instantly. If you don't, you're in shit puddles. You really are. I do like the water effect is kind of nice when you go in and out of the water. They've retained that from the arcade, which is good. I'm really in trouble here. I've got to get that on my front. Got to get the force on the front here because I'm going to be in trouble with the big boss boy. Yep, splat. There I go. One more life. Oh! Bloody hell. Wave cannon charges pretty quickly. I've noticed that the super wave cannon will retain its charge. It doesn't drop out once you... Oh god, that geezer just dropped straight on the head, didn't it? So yeah, all in all, it's a very good port. It's quite playable. It tries to replicate the arcade well, but just a little bit too hard, a little bit frustrating. Yeah, so it's a decent version, and yeah, well worth a look. Cheers, thanks for watching. Novabug out.